Hi guys, just thought I'd just come on and do a quick rant. So got myself kicked out of another diabetic group. I think that's probably the fourth diabetic group I've been kicked out now. I'll put the picture up on the screen now for you to see. So this picture was put up on a diabetic group and I just sort of responded to it. Ended up getting kicked. So what did I say? I basically sort of challenged, and said, well, this is why most people who are diabetic have a bad time in the first place, and people couldn't handle that, and I got myself kicked. And this is the kind of thing I just want to talk about. People who are diabetic, and I'm not saying it's all diabetics, but so many diabetics, they have this victim mentality, and it's so frustrating. It really is. Now then, how can I put this? You need to realise that if you want to improve your health, you need to have a positive mental attitude. Your attitude needs to be I can, not I can't, not oh woe is me, it's not my fault, I'm a victim. Listen, I'm type 1. That means that I will be type 1 for the rest of my life, no matter what I do. I can do whatever I want in the world, try any diet, I will always be a type 1 diabetic. But I don't allow that to paralyze me into a state of inaction. I don't allow that to, I don't use that as some sort of justification to be a victim and have a victim mentality. So many diabetics, and I see this online, the way they act, you would think they had cancer. You would think they'd just been, raped or something. I don't mean to offend any women by saying that, but the way they come across, it's so ridiculous. Now then, if you let's break this down. So if you're type 2 and watching this, you have such a strong chance of being able to reverse your condition. What is type 2 diabetes? Type 2 diabetes is caused by people who eat a predominantly high-fat, low-carb diet, who eat a diet rich in animal products, and what happens is the fat gets into the body and it covers and clogs the cells. So I'm not just talking about body fat, but I'm talking about fat within the blood and in and around the muscle cells. And what happens is that fat basically stops the insulin from bringing the sugar into the cell, and as a consequence the blood sugars begin to rise, not because of the sugar, not because of the carbs, but because of the fat. Another way to look at it is Dr. Greger describes it this way: is imagine if you have a keyhole and you have a key that goes into that hole and opens the door. The key is the insulin. The door with the hole is the cell. But imagine if you went and put some chewing gum there, you wouldn't be able to get the key in, and that's basically what it is with diabetes, type 2 diabetes. They eat the high fat diets, and what happens? They get type 2. But if you're watching this and you're type 2, please don't allow yourself to be paralyzed into a state of inaction. You don't have to have this victim mentality. You can make positive, active steps to reverse your condition, and in 90 to 95% of the time, people who are type 2 who go on a high carb, low fat, whole food, plant-based vegan diet reverse their diabetes. Just not that though, but they lose weight long term, they lower their resting heart rate, they lower their blood pressure. Usually people who are type 2, they just don't have type 2, but they have other medical conditions that go along with that, and they will actually improve those conditions, if not reverse them as well. So I understand for a lot of people as well, it isn't easy to have a positive mental attitude, because when you look online, all these different diabetic pages and diabetic groups, they do foster this victim mentality. And if you're diabetic and you've never been around someone with a positive mental attitude, that can-do attitude, you're understandably gonna end up like them, but you don't have to be. So if you're watching this and you know in yourself that you do have this sort of negative victim mentality, snap yourself out of it right now. If you type 2, I want you to Google right now Dr. Neal Barnard. That's Neal Barnard. The guy is probably one of the top diabetic doctors in the entire world. He's shown clinically you can reverse type 2 diabetes with high carb, low fat, whole food, plant-based, vegan diet. Look at how lean the guy is. He looks lean. Look at all of these high-fat doctors. They look fat, sick, and dying. Now then, for someone who's watching this who's type 1, yeah, you're like me. You'll never reverse your condition. Tough. You need to get over that and move forward. So even though you can't reverse your condition, you can take steps to greatly improve your situation. What are those steps? Quite simply, the ones I just described for the people who are type 2. That is, you eat a high carb, low fat, whole food, plant-based vegan diet. Now then, you will not reverse your type 1 diabetes because your beta cells are destroyed because of your immune system, but you will maximize your insulin sensitivity. Now then, type 1 diabetes is not a condition in which people are type 1 because of insulin resistance. They are type 1 because their immune system, for whatever reason, has gone cuckoo and attacked the beta cells and destroyed them, and you're no longer able to produce insulin. But type 1 diabetics can and often are insulin resistant. Now then, how do we know this? We know this because of insulin to carb ratios. So if you look at my personal story, so I used to be on an insulin to carb ratio of 1 to 10. That means for every 10 grams of carbs, I would have 1 unit of insulin. I went on a high carb, whole food, plant-based vegan diet, and I increased it from 1 to 10 to 1 to 35. So that means that I then needed only 1 unit of insulin for every 35 grams of carbohydrates. Now, the winter time around about now, it does come down slightly, but that happens every winter. But then the rest of the year, it goes back up again. So at the moment, it's around 1 to 30 instead of 1 to 35. So straight away, you can see there how I cut my insulin by 2/3. Now then, most type 1 diabetics I see online, their insulin to carb ratios are terrible. They're on 1 to 10 like I used to be, or even worse, on 1 to 5, or even on a 1-to-1 ratio sometimes. It's like, why is that? Why are they on these bad ratios? And the answer is fat. Everyone likes to think, oh, I'm different. It's because I'm different, and yeah, we are all different in that we look different. Some people are white, some are black, some are Asian. Some are male, some are female, some are tall, some are small. Some have, manly jaws and facial structures, and others have, softer ones, not as prominent, whatever. Some have blue eyes, some have green eyes, but ultimately, when it comes to what happens on the inside of our bodies, we are all the same. If you look at black people, they're in Africa, they have so much lower rates of heart disease than we do. Is it because they're black? No, because when they come to America or a Western country, they end up, with the same rates of heart disease, if not worse, than the white people. Look at Asian women. Asian women have the lowest rates of breast cancer in the world. Is it because they're Asian? No. How do we know that? Because when they migrate to our countries, within a generation or two, they have exactly the same breast cancer rates as us. And we're not talking about just a 20% increase. We're talking increases of 600-900% in cases. And it's the same with diabetes. The fat you eat is the fat you wear, and more importantly, the fat you eat is the fat that causes insulin resistance. If you eat high-fat animal product-based diets, you will be insulin resistant, and most type 1 people, they get into this mindset that, oh, I need to eat low carb, and they eat these low-carb, high-fat diets, and it makes their situation worse because they then have all of this fat clogging the insulin, inhibiting it, and stopping it from doing its job properly. I know it sounds strange, but the best type 1 diabetics I've ever seen in terms of consistent A1Cs, HbA1cs, and insulin to carb ratios have always been vegans, vegan type 1 diabetics. There's quite a few people in the comments I've seen in here, and they tell me their ratios. I've never seen a high fat, low carb person with those ratios. And why is that? It's because, the fat. So, I know it sounds kind of strange why, I didn't really sort of plan on doing this video tonight, but I just felt a bit frustrated, so I thought I'd come online and rant and vet. Please don't have a victim mentality. Don't have this sort of, woe is me. And, if So going back to the picture that I put up on the screen earlier on, so I'll just get it up for myself on my computer to look at to remind myself. So can I give you some advice on how to treat your diabetes? No. Again, that's what I'm trying to come back to here. Most people who are type 2 diabetic and type 1, they're completely unwilling to listen to other people. Now, then, I'm not saying that you act on every single piece of advice that people give you, because that is wrong. What I'm saying is just listen and then go away and assess what they're saying. So don't just go and eat a high carb plant-based diet because I'm saying it, but go away and look at Dr. Neil Barnard, go away and look at Dr. John McDougall, go away and look at the science of what I'm saying and the logic and the reason behind it. If you're not willing to listen, then how is it that you can improve your situation? And it could be the other person is wrong. I often have people who give advice to me, and I do listen to what they say so that I can then respond back to them. But if I just completely ignored what they said, I couldn't really respond to them effectively to explain to them how they're actually wrong scientifically, so that they can then look at their situation and address it. So don't be one of these people who's completely closed off and listen to what other people say. Don't just necessarily act on it, but listen to it first. Go away, consider it, look at the logics, reason, science behind it. Look at Dr. John McDougall, Dr. Neil Barnard. Like I said, they can reverse type 2, and they cut the insulin needs of their type 1 patients. And the other thing I want to just sort of cover is, now then, I can't go back into the comments of the post that I told you about because I've been banned, so I can't see anything. But this is the last question which I sort of put to them, and I said, how can people be informed if no one is willing to inform them? Because people come back to me and saying, no one should ever give advice where it's not wanted. And well, here's the thing, people don't necessarily know that they need help in the first place. Like, when I used to eat dead animal products all the time, I didn't know I needed help. But luckily, by the grace of God, I managed to watch Forks Over Knives and then Enduring Rider. But if they never gone around informing people, trying to help people, I would never know. I would be none the wiser. And if anything, I'd be worse off for it health-wise at the moment. And this argument that you can't give advice to people unless they ask you is just ridiculous. I mean, like I said, how are people supposed to know? It's like smoking. How are people who used to smoke back in the 60s and 70s supposed to know it causes lung cancer if people don't go up to them and tell them? And here's the thing, if you go up to someone trying to speak to them and help them and inform them, what's the worst thing that can happen? The worst thing that can happen is they completely ignore what you're saying and they go about doing what they've always done. You haven't lost anything. You've tried, and they're still in the situation that they're in. But what if you actually try and you go up to them, you try and give them advice, and then they accept it and they improve their condition? That's a big win. So don't say you can't help people because they don't want it, because often people who need help don't necessarily know they need help. I'll say that again, people who need help don't necessarily always know they need help. So it's up to us. I don't care what anyone says, it's up to us to go out and help people. And if people reject us for that, if they ban us for that, if they ridicule us for that, then so be it. All that we lose from that is our own pride, and pride isn't a good thing anyway. It's something that all of us should get rid of. But yeah, so I hope that was useful. I don't know, perhaps it was a bit of a rant, but yeah, just get so annoyed by this. Don't be a victim. I don't care who you are. If you're type 2, come on, you stop saying I can't. Say you can. You can reverse your type 2 90 to 95% of the time. For those of you in that 5 to 10% who can't reverse it, you'll still improve your situation, and at the same time you'll ultimately lower your risks of heart disease, cancer, osteoporosis, atherosclerosis, Alzheimer's, obesity, you name it. There aren't any downsides to a high carb vegan diet. It's the most scientific diet in the world. It's the only diet we should eat regardless of colour, race, sex, age, whatever. It's the only diet that's backed up with science. And likewise, if you're watching this, never allow anyone to sort of shame you into silence, to say you can't give advice, you can't help people, it's not your right to say that. No, just ignore them. Keep on helping people, and if they want to, you know, kick off at you, make fun of you, ridicule you, so be it. What I would say is just never resort to, you know, ad hominems, never swear, never cuss. Remember what's your goal. Your goal is to help get people onto the high carb plant-based vegan diet. One, for them personally, to save that person's life, to improve their health, but two, to get the message out, you know, for other people. 3, the animals, so we can save them and stop killing them and torturing them. 4, the environment, so we can stop producing so we can cut greenhouse emissions by 50%, because 50% are caused by animal products and the animal industry. 5, to save 17,000 children who die every day from starvation because we choose to give grain to the animals, to then kill those animals, to then get sick from eating those dead animals, whereas instead we could just give that grain to the 17,000 children who die from starvation every single day to save their lives. So I'm going to probably try and end the video now, because I'm just going to keep on ranting for ages. So hope that was useful, guys. Again, my goal isn't to offend anyone if you're diabetic who's watching this. My goal is to just try and help you, so just snap out of it. You don't have to be a victim. I'm type 1. I don't allow that to be my label. I don't allow that to be my identity. Each day I have a positive mental attitude, and I keep on moving forward to try and improve my health. Do you have any comments, questions, criticisms? Put them below. If there's anything I said which didn't make sense, put it below so I can try and explain. If you like this video, give it a like. If you hate it, give it a thumbs down. Just let me know why, so I can respond and try and answer any problems you might have. Until next time, God bless. Stop being a victim. Go high carb, low fat, high fiber, whole food, plant-based vegan. It is the most scientific diet in the entire world. If you're diabetic, go away and Google right now Dr. Neil Barnard, Dr. John McDougall, and also Google nutritionfacts.org, which is run by Dr. Michael Greger, who is one of the best doctors in the world. Okay, I'm going to go. Bye-bye now. Video. So I thought I'd just do a quick video today on macros. So what are macros, and what macros should you aim for? First of all, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to have for my breakfast today. So this is what I'm having for breakfast today, guys. So I have about 300 grams of grapes. I've got 125 grams of blueberries. Sort of, challenged, and said, well, this is why most people who are diabetic have a bad time in the first place, and people couldn't handle that, and I got myself kicked. And this is the kind of thing I just want to talk about. People who are diabetic, and I'm not saying it's all diabetics, but so many diabetics, they have this victim mentality, and it's so... Hi guys, just thought I'd just come on and do a quick rant. So got myself kicked out of another diabetic group. I think that's probably the 4th diabetic group I've been kicked out now. I'll put the picture up on the screen now for you to see. So this picture was put up on a diabetic group, and I just sort of responded to it. Ended up getting kicked. So what did I say? I basically, so frustrating. It really is. Now then, how can I put this? You need to realise that if you want to improve your health, you need to have a positive mental attitude. Your attitude needs to be I can, not I can't, not oh woe is me, it's not my fault, I'm a victim. Listen, I'm type 1. That means that I will be type 1 for the rest of my life, no matter what I do. I can do whatever I want in the world, try any diet, I will always be a type 1 diabetic. But I don't allow that to paralyze me into a state of inaction. I don't allow that to I don't use that as some sort of justification to be a victim and have a victim mentality. So many diabetics, and I see this online, the way they act, you would think they had cancer. You would think they'd just been raped or something. I don't mean to offend any women by saying that, but the way they